we launched the Microsoft Learn LTI application earlier this month, available to all institutions worldwide. And the goal really is to be able to, number one, create that blended learning resource. So add Microsoft Learn content into your existing LMSs. So what does the LTI actually do? So the Microsoft LTI tool is based upon versions 1.1 to 1.3 of the LTI standard, which is a global open standard by IMS Global. The tool actually builds a bridge between your current learning management system and our Microsoft Learn Catalog API service. So it allows you to populate Microsoft Learn modules in line with your existing courses and curriculum. And the real driver for this was around trying to give institutions where you're teaching fundamentals, etc., hands-on labs or activities where students can get hands-on building out Azure resources, services and tools. So that was our whole goal of why we built this tool. It's completely open source, so it's available as a GitHub open source product, and we want contributions from the community and also suggestions from the community of what you would like to see. So in terms of installation processes, we tried to make this really simple as possible, because this is aimed all the way from like community colleges in the US and the UK and around the world to larger higher education institutions who have big IT teams, whether they're central IT teams or faculty IT teams. So step one of the deployment is actually using what we call an Azure click to deploy. So this is based on an Azure resource management template, which is a single button click to deploy the services. The way this is deployed is we actually have a middleware solution. So the LTI application is a middleware solution that sits on an Azure subscription between your learning management system and Microsoft Learn. So step one is to deploy that middleware service, which is based on Azure serverless functions. Step two is then to install the LTI application into your existing learning management system. Today we support Moodle, Canvas, Blackboard, Direct to Learn, but we are 1.1 and 1.3 compliant. So if you have an in-house LMS that is LTI supported, it will work. And then step three is actually configuring and deploying your courses. So in terms of the education setup, everything that we're going to be doing is using it's Moodle in terms of the demo. We have, first of all, a GitHub repo. So on the GitHub repo, we have details about what this service is. In terms of the way we look at getting started with this is we look at three different personas from a university perspective. So the central IT admin would deploy the Microsoft Learn application to their Azure subscription. The LMS admin would then configure the work with the LTI. And then you as educators would actually create your classes and create those resources associated to the class. And the students, of course, would just consume those resources. So again, we have this all documented within this repo with full setup instructions, deployment guides, configuration guides, etc. When we come to the actual LMS, so this is an example of our Moodle test environment. So I have a course here called the Foundations of Data Science. And this is a typical LMS construct, so anybody would be very used to this. I've currently got editing turned on, so I'm an admin of this course, so I can add or change some of these requirements. So if I wanted to actually add the LTI tool, because we're supporting LTI standards, we're a standard LTI external tool, so we simply select external tool and click add. And then we actually have the configuration of our tool. So our LMS admin has installed the tool as a global LMS tool. And we now have these presentations available of the different tools. So if you're using things like Gradescope or Turnitin, you'll be used to using a third-party tool. So in this case, I have an environment for 1.3 and a demo environment for 1.1. So I'm just going to do an example with 1.3. I can give this an activity name. So I don't know, we'll just call it Azure Fundamentals. And click Save and Return to Course. So what this has done is now added that LTI extension. So here is now the LTI extension, so for Azure Fundamentals. So as an academic, I want to go in there and actually configure this section of the course. So when I click on this, on the actual button, This now launches into our Azure serverless environment. So this is now gone to a separate URL, which is our Azure Function service that's been deployed in our campus. In terms of cost, this will cost $20 per month to have this service. What happens now is that the LTI tool is loading and it's creating those bridges between the Microsoft Learn Catalog API and our LMS. So firstly, because it's built that bridge, it's allowed me to see who the participants are on this course. So I have a participant list and I can see the roles, if they're students or teachers. Again, I have all their details because this has been brought over via LTI. And what this is allow you to do is actually to deploy the resources to either the entire class, specific individuals or groups of individuals. So if you think about this from like a project perspective, you could be building projects where each different group of students is doing a different thing. So you can then deploy specific resources to each of those groups. So under general, I'm just going to add in some detail information about what I want the students to do. Okay, I will then select a deadline for when this course has to be completed or this work has to be completed. So I'm going to say Friday the 2nd of October. I can add some links to this resource, so some additional reading links. This could be internal SharePoint resources, it could be web links, it could be something like Azure Lab Services. This could be any open, public, or any private URL to your institution, whether on campus, off campus, etc. And again, I can add as many of these as I wish. Now the interesting part is I want to actually add Microsoft Learn resources to this module. So what I do is I click on MS Learn, and this is now using our bridge to the Microsoft Learn Catalog API. And this is going to bring back all the existing live current modules. So as, you know, anybody who's looked at Microsoft Learn Catalog, that literally grows every single day. We're up to about 1,700 modules and I think about 230 learning paths. So in here, I can actually just now search for any of the actual learning paths. So I can type Azure Fundamentals and it will bring back all the different content around Azure Fundamentals. Now, some of the features we want to start adding to this is more search options and more granularity to that search. So again, that's one of the features that we do definitely want to provide to this. So once I've brought back all those Azure Fundamentals, you can see that it displays them all in the grid and there's lots and lots of modules here. So what I can actually do as an academic is I can click on Learn More and it will open up the module in a new window and then I can see the details of what is within this actual module. If I like this module, I simply select it and the module is added to the student's reading list. So I can add modules, I can add learning paths. Another feature that we're looking at is adding what we call a deep link. So this is to a specific unit within a module. So hands-on lab within that module, so we'll be able to add that as an individual. Once I'm happy with this, I can then preview this. And this is the view that the student receives within their LMS. So they can see the description, they can see the deadline, they can see the links that we added, and they can see those modules that have been added. Once I'm happy with this, I can simply just click Publish, and this will publish those resources to all the students within that class. So this is now published, it's now live. So if I go back into my LMS and I just switch roles, because this is one of the great beauties of using Moodle, switch roles to a student. So I now see the same details as a student, but I'm not able to edit them. If I click on Azure Fundamentals, it now loads the LTI tool. It now understands what role I have, and it loads that resource with the appropriate view. So now it loads the LTI tool, and it should populate that with all the resources that we've selected. So this is exactly so they can consume their services, so they can click on the search link to go to Bing, and go to Azure Labs, or they can click on the Microsoft Learn module, which then takes them into Microsoft Learn. Now, one of the key requirements we had when we built this from a lot of the preview customers we used was not to have the LTI tool embedded within your learning management system. And this is why it opens the resource as a separate tab. Again, you know, if you wanted to change that, it's something that your learning management admins can do. You know, the code is all there. but the majority of universities we spoke to wanted it to be opened in a new tab window.